Have you ever heard that Christopher Columbus was the first to discover the Americas? Well, what if I told you that ancient Egyptians might have beaten him to it by thousands of years? It sounds like something out of a movie, but some fascinating and controversial evidence suggests that ancient civilizations were far more connected than we ever thought possible. Today, we're diving deep into the mystery of pre-columbian trans-oceanic contact. Our story begins not with a map but with a mummy. In 1992, a German toxicologist named Svetla Balabanova was studying the remains of an Egyptian mummy named Tawi, a priestess who lived around 1000 BC. What she found was shocking: traces of nicotine and cocaine. Now, here's the catch. Tobacco and coca plants, the only natural sources of these substances, are native to the Americas. They weren't supposed to exist in Africa, Europe, or Asia until after Columbus's voyages. When Balabanova published her findings, the academic world was in an uproar. Many scholars immediately dismissed the results. They suggested contamination from modern handlers, or maybe even that the mummy was a fake. It was a reasonable skepticism. After all, this discovery challenged the very foundations of our understanding of history. But Balabanova was confident in her methods. She had taken extensive precautions to rule out contamination. And this wasn't just a one-time fluke. She later tested more mummies from the same collection, and again, the results came back positive for these American plant compounds. This mummy mystery opened up a can of worms. If these substances were really present in ancient Egyptians, how did they get them? Did they have plants we don't know about? Unlikely, as botanists have scoured the old world for centuries. The most tantalizing possibility is that they actually traded with people from the Americas. This idea is known as Hyperdiffusionism, the theory that many ancient cultures learned key skills and got goods from a single, advanced seafaring civilization. Now let's talk about the maps. While there isn't one single forbidden map from ancient Egypt showing the Americas, there are several historical maps that fuel this debate. One of the most famous is the Piri Reis map of 1513. Piri Reis was an Ottoman admiral and cartographer. His map is remarkable because it shows parts of the South American coast with surprising accuracy, and some even argue it depicts a version of Antarctica without its ice cap. Piri Reis himself wrote on the map that he compiled it from about 20 older source maps, some of which dated back to the time of Alexander the Great, and even further. Could one of these ancient source maps have originated from a seafaring civilization like the Egyptians or Phoenicians, who had knowledge of the Americas? It's a huge leap, but it makes you wonder. The official story is that early cartographers were just making lucky guesses, piecing together sailors' fragmented accounts. But the level of detail on some of these maps seems to suggest more than just guesswork. Then there's the story of the Minoan Jar. A few decades ago, archaeologists excavating a site in central Brazil uncovered a ceramic jar that looked strikingly out of place. It bore an inscription that some linguists claimed was Linear A, the undeciphered script of the ancient Minoan civilization from Crete. The Minoans were contemporaries of the Egyptians and were renowned sailors. If this jar is authentic, it would be concrete proof of Old World mariners reaching the Americas thousands of years before Columbus. Of course, this finding is also highly contested. Many believe it's a modern forgery planted at the site. The debate rages on, with no clear resolution in sight. So, let's connect the dots. We have Egyptian mummies with traces of American plants. We have medieval maps supposedly based on much older sources that seem to show the New World. And we have scattered, controversial artifacts like the Minoan Jar found in Brazil. Is this a collection of unrelated anomalies and misinterpretations? Or is it a trail of breadcrumbs leading to a hidden chapter of human history? Think about the ancient Egyptians' capabilities. We know they were master builders, astronomers, and engineers. They built the pyramids, for crying out loud. They also had a deep understanding of shipbuilding. They constructed massive ships from cedar wood, capable of long voyages across the Mediterranean and down the Red Sea. They had a known trade route, the land of Punt, which they sailed to for exotic goods like incense and myrrh. While historians generally place Punt somewhere in East Africa or Arabia, its exact location is still debated. Could their seafaring ambitions have taken them even further? The journey across the Atlantic would have been incredibly perilous. They would have needed ships capable of withstanding open ocean storms and a sophisticated understanding of currents and winds. The mainstream view is that they simply didn't have this technology. But proponents of the pre-columbian contact theory argue we might be underestimating them. They point to reed boat experiments, like Thor Heyerdahl Sarah Ra 2 expedition in 1970. Heyerdahl built a boat based on ancient Egyptian designs and successfully sailed from Morocco to Barbados, proving that such a crossing was at least possible. Of course, Heyerdahl's journey doesn't prove the Egyptians actually did it, only that they could have. We still lack the definitive, undeniable proof that would rewrite the history books, like an Egyptian hieroglyphic text describing a voyage to a new western continent, or an undisputed Egyptian artifact found in a sealed pre-columbian tomb in the Americas. So where does that leave us? We're caught between a fascinating, almost romantic idea of a globally connected ancient world and the rigorous, evidence-based standards of modern archaeology. The mummy evidence is compelling but plagued by questions of contamination. The maps are intriguing but open to interpretation. The artifacts are explosive if real, but their authenticity is fiercely debated. Perhaps the truth is somewhere in the middle. Maybe there wasn't large-scale, sustained trade but a few accidental voyages, or a small group of intrepid explorers who made the journey and whose stories faded into myth. Or maybe the conventional timeline is completely correct, and all these anomalies have perfectly ordinary explanations we just haven't found yet. But the what if is what makes this so captivating. What if our ancestors were not isolated pockets of civilization, but part of a global network of trade and discovery, a network whose memory has been lost to time? The search for answers continues as scientists and historians keep digging, re-examining evidence, and challenging what we think we know about our past. These forbidden histories push the boundaries of our knowledge and remind us that there are still so many mysteries buried beneath the sands of time. What do you think? Is it all just a series of coincidences and hoaxes, or is there a genuine hidden history waiting to be uncovered? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the unknown. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest mysteries. See you next time.